Good evening and welcome to this Wednesday, March 31st edition of the Island Sports Show. I'm your host, Earl Basin, and joining me as co-host, Jason Juglin J. Ford. And we are joined by the president of the Western Star Sports Club, Mr. DeVar Boyles, and the secretary of the club, Ms. Shawnette P-Rod. As we all know, Jay,
Good evening.
The club has gone under a bit of restructuring, especially the field, in an agreement between government, GORMS, and the Western Star Sports Club. They've started this joint venture to make improvements to the field, and we wanted to bring you guys on tonight to just give the public an update now that work has started, timelines, and what one can expect over the next few months of seeing at St. John's Field. So DeVar, let's start with you. The what we consider the payloaders are taking up the ground. What else is left? What else is left to do before we start that reconstruction of the field?
My understanding of what's happening, we still have a few remnants of sports on the field, i.e. there's two goals that need to be taken off the field, as well as some containers and the cricket scoreboard. I think those are the last of the items that we have to clear from the field. Once that is cleared, then the site is actually going to be turned over to GORMS. It is. So I've been made to understand that the latest update as of today, the chains and the rest of the stuff that's going to permit or stop allowing people access to the field will be put up, and it will be, in all intents and purposes, a real construction site with no pedestrian access.
And what is the time frame that you guys have been given once those chains are put across, that it becomes that construction site? What is the time frame that they've estimated that you would actually be able to have the field, your new constructed field, back?
That's a loaded question. If everything goes according to plan, the time frame is 2 years. So we started March 1. Then 2023, we should have the field in and around March. Now, all of this is subject to shipping because some aggregate has to be brought into Bermuda. I think there's going to be 4 layers. One layer, but not necessarily in this order, but one layer will consist of recyclable glass. I think that's been reported. There's going to be some aggregate that's going to be brought into Bermuda, similar to that of the airport. In addition to that, we're going to take advantage of the horticultural mulch at March Valley site. And then the last layer will be the topsoil that's being scraped onto the field currently. So on the field currently, there should be 6 huge mounds of soil and maybe 1 with just clay for the cricket wicket.
Okay. Douglas?
Yeah, guys, obviously exciting times for you guys around the club, but how is the membership obviously looking forward to this partnership along with GORMS and the new activities going to be happening at the club?
My co-host Shawnette will answer this, and anything that she doesn't, I guess, fails to bring to everyone's attention, I'll be more than happy to fill in.
Yeah, the members at the club right now, I mean, everyone's excited about this venture that's going on. Everyone's just interested, anxious to know, like you guys, like how it's going to take, and the benefits of us going through this project. But everyone's excited. I mean, it's exciting times.
Will the club be erected? Any work being done to the club, or the club's going to move?
I guess I can take this one. There is 3 phases of development for us, and all it is subject to funding. As it's been reported, GORMS is bearing the financial burden of resurfacing the field. So the next phase for us is coming up with a revenue stream to actually pay for the operational course of running the field and potentially the new purpose-built sports facility. So in about another 3 months, we will be coming out to corporate Bermuda and Bermuda at large with a real business plan, a green plan, because we are Western Stars is going to move away from the traditional club model, and we're moving to that of wellness.
Mm.
Now, you said there's things that have to be moved off right now. Will the scoreboard return to the same place, or have you guys thought that far down the line yet? Or what is the plan for the multi-purpose field? Because you're going to be playing both cricket and football as it is right now. Come in 2 years' time.
That all of those are great questions. For us, we wanted a digital scoreboard, and it's going to be two-sided. Obviously, it's going to be 3 poles. This is our vision: 3 poles erected, and if you can imagine, during the football season, you'll see a scoreboard, and then it swings to the other leg, and the reverse side will be a cricket scoreboard. Where there's positioned is probably, we don't know exactly, but it's going to be obviously the best spot as it relates to optics for both sports.
Okay.
Mhm.
Forward thinking. Jay?
You mentioned about wellness. What are some of the other programs you're looking to initiate once you get it back up and running?
Well, our mandate is sports, so I think in our name it says Western Star Sports Club, but the 2 sports that we're probably most famous for is cricket and football. We're trying to branch out, so the ladies at the club, I think historically, President has always said to the ladies, okay, would you like to do a softball team? Can you do a netball team? Where we are now, we have just pushed it out to them, the ladies, to find out exactly what they would like to do. And Sean probably can answer that. They haven't come back to say which sport they're interested in doing, but we're certainly in conversations with track clubs, with tennis, and in the form of pickleball. We're speaking to other people as far as walking clubs, because our vision, if you can, I guess, kind of, we don't have a 3D rendering at this particular point. So like I said, in the next 3 months, we're going to be working on these things to come up with a real robust plan that speaks to how we would like to go about asking the Bermuda at large to assist us on this path of wellness. So because we're a sports club, we're looking to do the obvious thing. So we want to have a purpose-built facility. The lower levels will be, changing rooms, cardio rooms, weight rooms, the physiotherapy room, things that we know that sports people, sports teams will need. We're certainly going to try to make this available for the businesses in the area. Like Order Solutions is right across the way. Our partnership with Gorms is really fantastic at this particular point. So we want to have like a wellness program for the employees. So because we're amateur sports club, from let's say 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., we don't necessarily have a heavy footprint, and we're hoping that the neighbors in and around the business community of St. John's and Bakery Lane would take advantage of a wellness program, which can be held at the venue of St. John's, to help their employees. And more importantly, we look at the community of West Pembroke. There is, like most of the population is the wrong side of 50. And they're going to need, in our opinion, wellness. So we spoke to a lot of physiotherapists and doctors. For the most part, when you go to get those sort of treatments, you don't have the option of, going right outside and walking on the grass. So for the most part, we're trying to have all the amenities that you would need in the building, but also have the added benefit of, walking, not always on a treadmill, but going right outside on the grass. So that's how we think we can be strategically located in order to capture this new market in wellness.
One of the things I'm hearing is a lot of stuff within the grounds. As we all know, there's always that challenge of parking around the grounds. Has there been any discussion on improving that, I guess, with the neighbors, with the neighboring businesses?
No, there is property in and around Bakery Lane side that, if we had a surplus of cash, we certainly would like to secure that to tick that particular box. As well, I guess a lot of the public would not know that Auto Solutions actually uses Western Stars facility for their employee parking throughout the day. And again, because we don't have that footprint, being an amateur sports club, then that kind of makes sense. But your question is key, and that's something that we've always had our eye on. But like land is certainly difficult to acquire, and certainly there's probably going to be we're hoping some partnership with some other companies right across the street from us that we can probably go into to come up with something that's viable for the sports club and the area businesses.
Okay.
Two things. I want to go. Let me stick with the parking because, traveling around, especially in the States, especially when it comes around venues, there's always a partnership with, you said, neighboring businesses to have paid parking and different things of that nature. I mean, we take it for granted because a lot of times we just park on the broad around some field and get away with it. But as you know, you go to any major event anywhere in the States, there's going to be paid parking there. Has been consideration for, number one, could help you guys out, but also help out your neighbors?
No, I can say there's been a lot of dialogue in that regard. And again, I guess what we also need to speak to is that my brief is the president of the sports club. I mentioned to Earl offline that the other thing that we have, or it's going to come into fruition very soon, is we have a Roots Foundation. So there's a group of people in the form of a trust, former members who are settled in life. I don't want to name drop, but there's a big list of these people, and their job is actually managing this transition from St. John's and back. So some of the questions that you're asking me, how it works is that when we have meetings, Shawnette and I are the ex officios of the club who get to sit on the board of the Roots Foundation. So it's just lights on but hands off. So that's a great question, and that's some of the questions that they're having at the level, the Roots Foundation level, and there is no definitive answer, but it's just an ongoing question that needs a creative solution. So we're hoping that by speaking in this forum that maybe someone who we haven't been able to speak to might hear it, and they might I guess approach us or speak to us in coming up with a solution to that particular question, because parking is always acute, particularly in that area. And
you also mentioned about, I'm thinking now, just the talk of the programs and what you would like at the club. I'm thinking of how these clubs really started. It wasn't just for football. It wasn't just for cricket. It was for the community. And I'm hearing these programs are not just for your teams that are in the club, but also the community, which a lot of these clubs are based in all of our communities. We're for. The wives and the mothers played a role in the clubs. Obviously, the gentlemen and the kids, they play a role. But I hear more of these programs that could be not only for members, but also the community. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yeah, you're definitely hearing that correctly. And I don't know, Shawnette, if you want to do some color commentary on this, but I'll certainly give you an opportunity.
Yeah, I'll say a short bit. Yeah, definitely. The community is a big part of staple of the club, the community at heart. The club, that's what the clubs are there for mainly, right? So we definitely want to branch out more so to the community, to let them know that the club is there for, like as Devon mentioned, a wellness. We're looking to go that way, so they can definitely benefit more from what we are looking to go to. As you know that, yeah. So definitely.
Jason, I guess to speak to a little bit, I think it says I'm muted.
Yeah.
Okay. To speak to a little bit, I guess what helped us to arrive at wellness was during the summer months when the field is cut and we're in between sports. You always see like women and well, more so women walking the streets lunchtime. They're exercising, and a few times, I just happened to be at the field, and you would see, the gates opened, and one or two of them would come in, and they would say, "Oh, can I walk around the field? Because the field's cut now." I'm saying, "Sure." So, I'm sitting there, I'm just watching, and here are these women. They do like 5 or 6 laps, and they go off. I'm saying, "Wow, what if we had markers on the side of the fence that said 200, 400 meters? What if there was a real route there?" Where you have little things that they can do, push up, set up, some things along the periphery of the field that doesn't interfere with sports, but certainly allows members of the public to come in to use it, because it's very dangerous. Jumping off this sidewalk, going across the street for the other thing. So we wanted to, I guess, based on that, was like the catalyst to say, well, maybe we need to do more as a club. Maybe we need to open our door. But the first thing that we needed to do was to fix the environment. And by having a new field, it's certainly going to help us. But the biggest thing for us now is that as we transition, because we have a great relationship with 3 schools, the 3 neighborhood schools. So we have a relationship with Northlands, we have a relationship with West Pembroke, and we have a relationship with Berkeley. So our program is actually broken up into the lifts based on the field capacity, because Northlands field is the smallest, and that's typically for the members in our program under 7. And then between the ages of 9 and 11, both football and cricket, we certainly, West Pembroke is the base, and anyone playing 11-a-side sports is at Berkeley, because the facilities are bigger. In addition to what I just mentioned, is that because the fields are being cut and the track clubs have been challenged, the National Track and Field Association has actually been liaison with Western Stars. And, we've marked the field form up at Berkeley a few times, and we've done a similar thing at West Pembroke. So they're taking advantage of it, because all the other, national sports governing bodies, they don't have large sums of monies like the national sports per se. So it would behoove all sports to kind of collaborate and move to a more globalized viewpoint in order to help each other to grow. And if we look at it from your own selfish reason, track and field coaches are that's the base of all sports. And so if you have a track and field coach who is working with your sports teams, it can certainly help, and we're definitely doing that. So one of the people that I'm working very closely with now is the national track and field coach, Devon Bean. So we'll see. Like I said, you can watch this space. I think you'll see a lot of collaboration between that sport and Western Stars, and there's a few other, but that one's further down the road.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking more about the club itself. We'll be right back.
The everyday use of spices goes back well over 6,000 years, evidenced by archaeological finds in Europe, including remains of spiced food. Since 1976, the Frontier Natural Foods Co-op has been bringing a wide range of exciting flavors to the table. The results are good news for the environment and more robust, fragrant essential oils in these natural seasonings. We're featuring Frontier Natural Products, organic ground cloves, rub sage leaf, and poultry seasoning. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. Well, I guess to the both of you, looking at we remember the structure, the barn,
prefab house.
Yes, and then we moved over to the new section that you guys currently have now. When you became the president of how did you find the state of the affairs of the club, without divulging too much information?
Luckily, it depends what you, I guess, from the outside looking in, it looks like Western Stars is probably a poorly run sports organization, but it certainly isn't. It's a lot more to it if you look underneath the hood. So we have had members from other clubs that have traveled with us. Like Western Stars is a travel club. Most people don't know that. A lot of people have traveled in cricket at youth level, and only really traveled with Western Stars. And certainly in football, we've traveled every other year. So I'm saying this to say is that there was a mechanism that really was in place, and was just a matter of repositioning to make it run well from an administrative standpoint. I think the sports programs was always there, but it wasn't a real, I wouldn't say business model, because it certainly was. Like we always found ways of making getting ends to meet, but it wasn't sustainable. So now we're moving more to sustainability and less reliance on like bar revenue. So for example, over the last 2 years, we haven't had a bar. So without having a bar, you know, most clubs will perish, but we found a way of stabilizing ourselves, and we're now moving. Prior to COVID, we was just approaching an area where we're starting to thrive, because we had a model that was moving in that direction. And then Gorms, you know, dropped this, and the Bermuda government in our lap, and so we're like excited. We always wanted a new field, but didn't know how we was going to go about it. And this is like, it's like a gift horse. You jump on it and you hold on as tight as you can and ride it as long as you can. So we'll see what the final product is. But everything was in place.
Okay, good.
The vision I have, I just want to make sure it comes to fruition. Are we having lights back at St. John's Field? Because I'm thinking that can do well, not just for, in season for football, but also I'm thinking night cricket. I'm just thinking, you mentioned track and field, track meets at night. I mean, there's so many opportunities that we can have with a field that's actually got lights.
You hit it on the head. I guess the challenge for us is that most of the funding, okay, the BFA, and this is not like private. This is public knowledge. The BFA has been in a great position along with FIFA. They get funding through FIFA, and the BFA has recently awarded 2 clubs, North Village and PHC, some funding that's going towards lights. Unfortunately for Western Stars, we're in line, but I think we're at the back. I won't say I think we are at the back of the line. And historically, Bermuda has never had more than 5 night field operators. So we have BA currently, we have Somerset now, PHC and North Village are going to come online, and then you have Devonshire Rec that's going to have a repurpose lighting program put on, and Western Stars will make it the 6th one. So in the BFA's current stance is that we're not eligible for fundings for lighting. So we are still negotiating with the BFA and other entities to make this lighting bit important, because it is important. We see our field, because it's central, being used for lots of other reasons other than football. So hopefully there's a joint approach with other sports to make Western Stars, a model club in that standpoint, where we're being prepared to negotiate and deliver some of the things that we say we want to, but more importantly, to be open for other sports. We're not just going to be, known as a football club. We want to do other sports. So the lighting bit is key. The answer is always yes, but we don't have the funding in place, and we've just got some real numbers as it relates to the footing cost. And because the subsurface of Western Stars is marshy land, the cost of the footings as of today, with the current funding levels that we have in place, is, we're not going to be able to pull that off, because the footings itself it's huge numbers. Like for one footing, will probably cost anywhere from $65,000, and you need 4 of them, and that's just for the footings, not anything else. So that course is very steep. So we'll see, but certainly having lights at that facility is desirous.
Duval, I know a lot of people around have admired your ability to motivate and organize a football team. How challenging was it for you to kind of, first of all, decide you wanted to run for the president of the club, and then with what you've undertaken, given up that leadership role as a coach, as a technical director, to concentrate on rebuilding the club?
I'm got 3 years. I'll say that much, right, Shonette? But I guess it was somewhat easy in the sense that because you just mentioned my sporting background at the club, and I guess for me, I already knew the current executive. I knew some of the challenges, some of the things I was very instrumental in bringing to the club, the travel component, trying to move us towards levels where we are able to sustain ourselves and not rely on so much on the bar, to reposition the youth program, to move the seniors to really want to be competitive and do some other things outside of football. And most of it was relationships, and still is relationships. So those relationships I just paid forward into the executive. Luckily for me, the current executive, and Shawnette is one of the I don't know what Western Stars would do without Shawnette, because Shawnette's been one of the constants. There's like a few people from a football standpoint. The constant in the program is Wayne Baxter. Love him or hate him, he's a constant. And then from the administrative side is really been Shawnette. Shawnette's been there for forever. So based on that, if you have those two people that I just mentioned in your corner, then certainly you can get some things done at Western Stars. And it was always like what was going to be the vision. Luckily, we have a great backroom staff in and around the football team. So it was easy to kind of step away from that, because we were always trying to promote from within with Kwame and Sion and Aaron Dankins and Calvin Blankendale. So all those people, I'm probably the face of football, but really, all those other people make me look good. People think it's me, but it's really not me. It's all those other people. So they do a great job. So it became easier to step away from it. I still miss the coaching bit, but I think that this is my new seat that I have to sit in for a while. And I'm saying 3 years because it's exhausting, meaning that I'm trying to run the sports program. I'm the sports club president. I'm not the person who's going to be managing, the new field. Although it's sexy, my mandate getting voted in is sports. So I try to stick to that. Shawnette's trying to stick to that, and that's why having the benefit of this Roots Foundation, and what very close to being ratified with a charity license and all those other things, because as the funds come in for the field, it's going to be, well, it is not going to be, it's already separated into the Roots Foundation. So they sign and write the checks per se. It still has to go through the club because we're not officially ratified as a true foundation, but all the legwork has been done. It's just been this long process, and it's taken a lot longer than I would have thought. But I think happy days are right around the corner.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming on, giving us an update. We will always keep track with you to see how the progress is being made. We'll keep eye on St. John's Field as the progress, and just see how actually it transforms, because it's very interesting to figure out how the technical people will work out. As we know, the field always floods when it rains. So what was it? The first 2 weeks it rained at least 12 out of the 14 days. So the field was really, really soft. So just to see how they kind of counteract that to give you a decent surface once it's all completed, and God forbid, not flooding as regularly as it was before. I want to see how that's actually put together. So we will stay in touch with you guys, and probably have you back on as the months go by to see if there's any update, and maybe that Roots Foundation group can join to give us an update on the field perspective as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Hopefully.
Well, we're going to take another commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by Maddie Moore. We'll be right back.
Thanks a lot.
Amy's Kitchen is an independent organic food producer, a family business who've been focusing on wholesome and flavorful foods for over 30 years. from their first pot pie right up to 1 million meals a day, and firmly believe in the importance of TLC throughout the entire journey to the final outcome. This month we're featuring Amy's Organic Soups, Black Bean Vegetable Minestrone, Quinoa Kale Red Lentil, Low-Fat Split Pea, and Vegetable Barley and more. All of them dairy, gluten, and lactose free. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
And welcome back to this Wednesday, March 31st edition of the Island Stat Sports Show. Again, I'm your host, Earl Basin, and joined by co-host Jason Juggling J. Ford. And as promised, we're joined by Madeline Moore, who had a remarkable weekend swimming in the International Senior Cup or Independent International Senior Cup. Take us through, winning the back day two, but what I was so confused with the results, but it was explained to me that in the morning you were swimming yards to advance to the final, where in the evening you were swimming meters. Now, you know that going in, how do you adjust yourself for that?
It was really weird. Honestly, I was confused because usually during Olympic years, you try and get it as much like long course as possible, but I don't know, they decided to do yards in the morning and then long course at night. So it was kind of crucial to kind of know what you're doing. It was just kind of frustrating because you did your yard swim in the morning and then, you go back, talk to your coach, and there, a couple things you messed up, but you can't think about that because you're going on to long course in the evening. So I don't know, it was a bit odd, but finished it, did it, and it was good.
Yeah, the I guess the gold medal performance in the morning, you finished second in yards. What was the talk in between the morning yard heat and the final meter heat that kind of gave you a little more confidence that I'm just that off that I could actually turn it around and actually win it?
Honestly, I just really wanted to win it. In the heats, I I missed my turn a little bit, so I knew that if I had hit that turn, I would have been first going to finals. But because obviously we don't have that turn in long course meters, I knew that I kind of had the back end speed now, and my start was really good. So I just kind of knew from the start that it was my race and I was going to take it. So pretty confident.
Yeah. Jay?
Hey, Maddie. First of all, congratulations on the WAC Swim of the Year. Wow. How was that? Just knowing that, out of the whole conference, you're the best swim of the year. You got nominated best swim of the year.
Yeah, I was, it was definitely something I had my eye on, throughout the competition. You see like the top girls and you're like, okay, well, she came second in this. And so I was like trying to, tally points in my head about like who was where, while kind of trying to keep focus on myself. But I was hoping and praying I was going to get it. Kind of like comes down to the head coach vote. So when my coach called me and told me, I was just super excited.
I'm thinking, so this is a question for you then, because over the last weekend, I've seen you break records now and, different records. So for you, Madeline Moore, do you concentrate on breaking records or do you concentrate on your rivals who you want to beat because they've been beating you the last time, or you more into the time you just want to beat this record? Which is our focus?
I like to think neither of them. I kind of just try to, obviously, like I have my eye on like what girls are kind of going what, but when it comes down to the race, I'm just, trying to think about my swim and how I'm going to execute it and not like thinking about how the girl next to me is going to be, if she's going to front end it, if she's going to back end it. So you just try to, because you can't control what other people do. So they're going to do what they're going to do, but you can always control what you're going to do. And yeah, that's kind of what the mindset you have to have, not worry about like records or, just how you execute the race, which is kind of what we do in practice all the time.
Okay, so afterwards then, after you win the race, do you have more joy in winning the race with a bad time, but you beat the person you wanted to beat? Oh, you okay race, but it was about a
Maddie, before you answer that, let me ask him a question. If you swim there and win the gold medal at the Olympics, are you upset?
I'm happy regardless. And then
Okay, Maddie, you can answer now.
I'm talking about any person they beat too.
It's I mean, in that case, I would be very happy if I was winning a gold medal.
That's what I'm talking about.
But at this point, if I'm just kind of if I can hit the times I'm trying to hit, I will be over the moon.
Obviously, like you said at the beginning, it's an Olympic year. You haven't swam much meters, especially meter events. Do you have a schedule for more meter events over the next few months to try to see if we can get at any time for qualification?
Yeah, so I am leaving for the UANA meet in Orlando in a month. I think the dates are like April 27th to like May 2nd. So that'll be another chance, and heats and finals are going to be long course, so I'll have more chances to hit those times.
Right. How with what you've done, I noted that there's no 50 back at the Olympics. There is a 50 free.
Yes.
There's 100 back, 100 free as well. So what will you kind of be focusing in on your best opportunity to meet the qualifying standard?
So my main event would be the 50 freestyle, but after this last weekend, so I actually dropped like 0.8 from my 100 free personal best time. So if I can fix some errors that I made during that event, it could be making the V cut in the 100 or the 50, but right now I'm really just kind of focusing on the 50 and then just gonna clean up some errors I made in the 100 and see what I can get.
Okay. Now, I mean, you're talking with two guys that would jump off the rocks and think we're swimming fast, but we ain't moved nowhere. But when you start talking the technical terms, when you start talking about errors, because we get to watch you swim, but we can't. I mean, obviously, a coach could tell if you're kicking right, if you're bringing your arms over and drawing enough water to pull through the water and all that. What is it exactly you need to work on to fix it?
So there were a couple of things. So in my 50 freestyle, because usually I have a good start, but my coach Lisa, she kind of was trying to change my underwater kick a few days out before the meet, which in hindsight she said wasn't a good idea. But it's a more productive underwater kick. I just didn't execute it as well as I could have. So that is something we're working on for this month. And then in the 100 freestyle, she said when she was watching the race, she wasn't even looking at the clock, but she was really frustrated how I swam it because apparently my head was really high. So that's another thing that I need to work on. But I mean, I still dropped almost a second. So
yeah. And Jay, I don't know if you realize it, but when you're at a pool watching a meet, and the difference between the men and the women, the men have a kind of a slapping pull in the pool where the females are a little more gentle. Why is that? Because the guys are getting a lot of pull and drag when they're doing that, when it's a lot more, like I said, gentle with the females doing it. Watching, because Caleb Dressel was at this meet, obviously one of the top US swimmers, and it was crazy to see everyone was just crowded around the pool deck and it was completely silent. It was really cool to see, but I think they just have a lot more muscle mass and they're able to power through the water a little better. If you watch the top 50 freestylers for women, they're doing something similar. It probably just doesn't look as drastic just because their muscles aren't that big, but yeah. Okay. Jay?
Melly, we know that the mental aspect of any sport is very important. For up and coming swimmer, how do you, well, what can you give some messages to the up and coming swimmer? How you deal with expectations? Because I mean, obviously, trying to manage, the highs and the lows.
Honestly, that's still something I'm trying to master. It's definitely been an up and down. I mean, the first semester was hard just because we were in different quarantines, but honestly, just talking to people and just not keeping everything in and feeling like that you're alone, because there are people that are out there that love you and they don't want to see you going through like struggles alone. So I mean, I call my parents maybe like 5 times a day, so I am constantly talking to them. Yeah, it's just know that there are people out there that love you and they want to see you, do the best that you can, and just don't put that pressure on yourself. Just enjoy what you're doing, and it's a process. You can't just expect to be swimming fast all the time. Like I'll go a few years without PBing. So it's just, you got to enjoy the process and not just be there for the results.
Obviously, you do have a big support. Take us back to when you started to actually feel as if you can do well in the sport, and then kind of making sure that you stayed grounded throughout. Because I mean, some people, if you're winning constantly in Bermuda, you've watched others that say, well, I'm the best, so I don't need to put in the work. I'm the best, so I don't need to, come to training. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that because nobody here could beat me. But then you go to an international meet and you kind of say, you know what, I'm giving up because I can't win. But when you realized that you were, kind of one of the top swimmers in the island, how did you keep grounded and keep the training level as high as you did? You've been to the Youth Olympics, you've been to the Pan Am Games and all that. So when did you realize that, and how did you make sure that you stayed grounded, or who helped you to stay grounded?
Honestly, a swim that comes to mind, I think it was when I was 13 and I was in Aruba. It was the first time that I broke 27 seconds in the 50 free long course. And it was funny because the scoreboard was wrong and it said I went like a 27 something. And then Jesse Washington went and looked at the results and he was like, Maddie, you went a 26. I was like, no, I didn't. So that was a pretty awesome time for me. But I just remember Ben, he was like, okay, well, that's an awesome swim, and giving me my kudos. But he was like, but just there are these girls going these times, these girls going these times. I was like, you know what, you're right. Like I might be right now the best in the 13-14 category at Carifta, but in the grand scheme of things, there are a lot more girls out there going similar times. So I think once I started going to meets past the Caribbean, I kind of was just like, oh, there are a lot of other girls doing this. So I think now it's, I go to a meet and then I come back and then I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to change this. I want to be better. I want to be faster. I want to do things like no one else can. So I think those things just keep driving me to be better myself. It really helps.
Definitely. Well, I wanna encourage you to get that month training in, be ready for your next week at the end of April into May. Hit that time, because I would love to see you in Tokyo.
I would love to be there.
Yeah, representing Bermuda. So all the best over the next month or so, and into that event. We'll keep an eye on that definitely, and let the people know how you're making out once that event starts. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take another commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by triathlete Erica Hawley. We'll be right back.
This month, we're featuring a range of infant and baby care products from Hello Bello, a company started up by a husband and wife team who were inspired to meet the challenges arising from the often surprising, not to mention messy experiences that came with the territory known as parenting. The couple behind Hello Bello know that being a parent is uniquely demanding, and their mission is to bring you premium products at gentle prices. Try Hello Bello Alpha diapers in a range of sizes, Alpha Blossom baby lotion, baby powder, and much more. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. We're joined by Erica Hawley, fresh off of 2 events in Florida. Erica, welcome.
Hi, good evening.
2 events in what, 3 weeks or so? Yeah. After not being able to compete for more than just under a year.
No, it's 15 months.
15.
For the last official race, you know.
Okay.
So, a long time.
So take us through the thought process of, because I know you've been able to train, but now the mind has to shift a little bit because now it's competition. How, especially the first one, what was the thought process going in?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at first I'm like, oh my gosh, I have all this pressure on myself. I've had 15 months to prepare for this race. But at the same time, I just focused on like the small things that I've been working on. I heard Maddie talking about the process, and I set a lot of a process goal for each swim, bike, and run, what I wanted to accomplish from each part. And I do this little thing where I think about like a specific workout that went really well. And I said, like on the swim, I'll be channeling like this time where I swam like really fast. And I like think about like fast turnover and fast kicking for the first 100 meters. And, I channel that energy. But yeah, it was so nice to race and just like not put pressure on myself. At the end of the day, hopefully I have a long season. It was only March. I hadn't really been on the track for like a few months. I mean, we went like a couple weekends before the race. So like I still hadn't have like a bunch of speed work. I mean, we're not trying to peak in March. So it's just about remembering that, I have put like a lot of work in, and yes, it might not be specific to, the short, sharp stuff, but it was kind of nice because when I talked to other athletes before, like we were all in a similar boat, and that's kind of like where you expect to be for the time being. But yeah, I'm super, super happy with how both of the races went.
Yeah, I noted, especially the second race, you had a very strong bike. Well, the swim was pretty good as well because the bike actually put you in a good position. But obviously, as you said, you haven't spent much time on the track running. That kind of pulled you back a little bit. But were you overall pleased with both performances in the whole?
Yeah. So I talked with my coach after, she was there for the first one and after the second one. So the thing that I was most proud of was the consistency, and I could see it from both races. I had pretty much the exact swim, bike, and run. So I could pretty much tell that where I was, and there was nothing like dramatically that went bad, which was so nice. So I expected, I would have liked to be out of the water a bit further up, but my power was really good on the bike, and I managed to get up to the front even if I was in the chase pack. So I could see a lot of progress there, especially with the hard 5-minute effort on the bike. And then the run, I was still super happy with it. At the end of the day, for both of the races, it was kind of a running race. We came off the bike in a group of 20 of us. And the America's races are notorious for having a generally easier bike. And most people rely on the run. Whereas in Europe, they definitely do a lot more work on the bike in order to not get away. They don't want the front group to get away. So yeah, I was really happy. I ran 18:15 on the first race, and I think that was pretty accurate in terms of the distance. I think it was exactly 5K, and where I am right now, that's perfect. And especially in the run, which is something that I'm still working on. My form never crumbled. I managed to stay strong and for the entire 5K, which is such a crucial thing, because sometimes you get to 4K and you're like completely wiped and you kind of have to shuffle it in, but it was nice to finish strong,
Right. Okay.
Hey, Erica, obviously you mentioned 15 months since the last event, but tell us some of the challenges, obviously now with COVID and the protocols, traveling to these events, and once you get to the event, just some of the protocols and the challenges that you never had to deal with before, but what are some of the things you're dealing with now, getting to an event and while you're at the event?
Yeah, so right now I'm in Bermuda, and with the recent pool closure that NSC, I mean, in general, like I had a track workout this morning and I had to do on the road. It's a bit of a pain, but I guess for traveling, I would just, I got the vaccine, the first dose, and I'm expecting to get the second dose soon. And I would just recommend to everyone, like, the pros of getting a vaccine. And for me as an athlete, like, I think it's going to be the only way that we're going to be able to race and travel to like Europe and stuff like that, is to have it. So it's just overcoming the obstacles. I would say that like everything takes a little bit longer, like in terms of booking things and trying to accommodate travel. I mean, the races that I did were in Florida, and there wasn't really many restrictions, which is not necessarily a good thing. But at the venue, they required masks. So that was good. And I just stuck to my own bubble. And I think that's just super important right now, just to, be safe and be considerate of others.
Yeah. We have this major event at the end of the year that will see you part of a team representing Bermuda, along with Tyler Smith, Tyler Butterfield, and Flora Duffy. And I know you guys competed together in Australia during the Commonwealth Games 2018. How excited are you to kind of get that group back together and see if we can go a little better this time around?
Yeah, I am so excited. Like it's weird to like prioritize like a relay as like my key race of the year, but like, on home soil, and like we've already done it once, so we know like what we can do. So this is like, we know we're competitive, so it's super exciting. Like I can't wait for that event. I mean, it's a bit scary, right? There's only 2 females, so I gotta hope that neither of us are injured. And obviously I would hope that we can do like a practice beforehand. But yeah, I think that like not only do we have a strong team, but like being on home soil, like just looking at Flora race the WTS and how much like stronger, not stronger, but like just the way that she led it from start to finish, and like how the crowd and everyone around Bermuda like inspired her, and like how strong she was. Like I think that's going to be such a important thing for us, and I think that like we will harness that like pride and energy from Bermuda, and it will be like game changing. So yeah, excited to say the least.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's controlling those emotions, because obviously with the crowd behind you, and I remember what you're talking about with Flora, but being the professional she is, she kind of was able to block that out until near the end where she can soak it up. But the making sure that you get everything done right for your swim, bike, and run, and not let the crowd kind of push you to bring yourself out. You're gonna have to. How do you plan to deal with that aspect of it?
I know, it's like you don't want to get too like excited and apprehensive and like blow a muscle or like pull a muscle because you like ran too fast out of transition. I think the most important thing is like, we practice it every day. We swim, bike, and run. We do a lot of speed work, and I think that as a young athlete in triathlon, like learning to deal with the pressure is like a huge thing. But just looking at myself from Commonwealth, I think I handled it super well. I mean, I was only 18, but I had one of my best performances on the day. And I just remember thinking like, I'm doing this because I love this. I know I'm competing for Bermuda at like one of the highest levels, just a tier below the Olympics, but I deserve to be there and I deserve to like put in a good performance. And I think that with a team, like you don't want to let anyone down. And I think that I just remember like in Commonwealth, we like had fun beforehand, and like I remember laughing like at the briefing the day before, and we all sat together and it was very wholesome. I know that Flora and Tyler are all very down to earth, and like obviously we have very big aspirations of what we want to accomplish in the race, but like ahead of time, just remembering why we do what we do, and it's for the love.
Jay?
Over the last 15 months, obviously, with this lockdown or COVID situation, what's some of the things you've been working on? Or, what part of it? Was more swim, more bike, more running? What's some of the things?
Learning to run in the snow.
Yeah, run in the snow, exactly. So I spent January to March, or until the races I did in Florida, in Boulder, where we have some cold days. Some days it was like, -10 Celsius. It was freezing, but specifically for me, and especially with the kind of change into the shorter, sharper format of racing, with my coach, for the swim, we kind of really want to work on that speed work. I would say generally I'm more of like a slow twitch athlete and kind of a slow burner, where I could go for forever. Even like when I was younger, like I remember my first 400-meter race when I was like in kindergarten or whatever, and like all the girls like ran max for like 100 meters and then had to walk, but I just like ran the 400 slow and like finished like top 5 or whatever, and like it's just trying to like teach my muscles that like I can go fast at the start. So that's kind of my main thing on the swim, bike, and run, just really getting that pace really quick. I mean, our races are an hour, but an hour goes by really quick for 3 sports, and it is short in the end. The bike is very punchy, and the run, I'm slowly getting in that speed work again. It's kind of that time of the year where track is more involved in my schedule. So that's kind of what I'm working on.
Can you answer? Obviously, you have a lot of friends that you train with and compete against, but are you kind of the envy of them because you're from the same place as the world champion, and they always want to talk to you about what she's doing if you're following the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, like I definitely have people being like, "Do you know Flora Duffy?" I'm like, "Yeah, she's famous. Like everyone knows her in Bermuda." But I don't think anyone really like kind of prize or is envious, maybe in a sense of like, I'm from such an amazing country, but I think, most of my friends are in the US, and I think there's a lot of inspirational people in the US, such as Gwen and Katie Zafiris. So, yeah, I think that my friend group is really supportive, and not all of my friends are involved in triathlon. So it's kind of nice because there's not always like a huge expectation of like who is this person and what you should do about how you should train, how you should do this. Like they're just like, oh wow, like you trained a lot today, like that's awesome. Like it's very down to earth, which is nice.
Yeah. Now the other thing for the end of the year, that event in Bermuda, what do you think you're going to have to do to try and be one of those ones on the individual start line?
Yeah, so I haven't actually really thought about that. I haven't put in a lot of time because in Edmonton, which is the individual world champs for the Olympic distance, I'm still going to be a U23. So I know that I can get a start. I think for the individual in Bermuda I think it's the like semifinal final format. I think it could be quite hard. I'm not sure if Bermuda like gets a spot. I know that like, for the Olympics, Japan gets like a couple spots or something. So I might be able to get a start on with that. I think, it's obviously going to be very competitive, but, I will have to just wait and see. I think as well, like they're going to start basing things off of points again. And I hope that I can, start racking up my points. I plan to travel to Europe in May and race as much as possible. And I think that that's obviously going to be in my favor.
Yeah. Any final questions, Jay?
Yeah, obviously with this COVID, I keep going back to COVID. I don't know why.
It's the hot topic always.
But I'm just thinking here, obviously, with a person who, with a discipline of 3 sports, and especially during COVID, diet. How hard has it been trying to keep up with a good diet? Obviously, not being able to train as much as you would love to train, but still trying to keep up with a good diet.
Yeah, I remember at the start of COVID when everyone like freaked out and the grocery stores were empty, that just like came to my mind right away when like couldn't get like flour for forever. Actually, like for me anyway, it kind of is nice because I just graduated in December and I am training full time now. But I actually have more time to cook, and I actually really like baking. So in Boulder, I would do all my workouts and do a lot of like baking in the day. So I think that's really helped me. And when I'm back home, it's nice because I'm living with my parents. So I get a lot done for me, which it honestly helps a lot. Like today I had like a 4-hour training day and I was exhausted. My mom had like made dinner for me and I didn't have to worry about any of that. So like, I'm obviously very grateful for that. But, I think that especially with it getting warmer out, just reminding I drink a lot of Gatorade and like Scratch, which is a powder I put in my drink with carbohydrates. And like for the bike and the run, I think that it's just important to get in that salt and those electrolytes. Because here with the humidity, right, you sweat so much. And when you're outside doing exercise, it definitely adds up. So just reminding myself to fuel like more on the workouts. Yeah, in terms of general diet, I just eat normal things, I think. I'm vegetarian, but it doesn't really mean anything.
So hold up. So you said bacon. What's your specialty? What is
What are you coming over for?
baked good? I'm curious now.
I like to make. I'm not a huge baker. I made naan bread the other night. That was pretty out of my box, like normal things that I bake. I do a lot of dinners, like curry and pasta and pizza. And I bake like banana bread and stuff like that and cookies. And my roommates are actually really big bakers. So my roommate has like a sourdough starter and she bakes like bread like every day and pizza and like sourdough cookies or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, I'll have to actually look at some recipes and send it to everyone so they get the Erica Holly insight to what things I eat.
Well, Erica, I want to thank you very much for your time. We look forward to your year coming up. You have 2 races under your belt already. And,
a lot more.
What's that?
Hopefully a lot more.
Oh, yes. Hopefully a lot more. We look forward to encouraging you to strive to do what you want to accomplish, especially this year. It's been a challenge thus far, but eventually we're going to have to come out of this on the other side. But COVID's not going anywhere, so we're going to just have to learn how to deal with it. But we want to wish you all the best, and we'll stay in touch with you regarding your upcoming events over in Europe. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
I think 21 has a lot to offer, and I really appreciate you making the time to interview me, and I hope that I was helpful to everyone. So thank you.
Sure, without a doubt. We're going to take our final commercial break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up this edition of the Honest Dad Sports Show. We'll be right back.
Welch's, producers of the world's best-known grape juice, have been based in Concord, Massachusetts since 1869. Distributed in Bermuda by John Barrett & Son, Welch's has become a household name. We're featuring Welch's 100% Concord grape and Niagara grape juices, distinctly delicious and heart-healthy, and ushering in bold new flavors. Welch's Super Berry Juice, combining the Concord grape with Aronia berries for tartness and mangosteen for sweetness, and Welch's White Grape Peach and flavored blend of white grape, pear, apple, and peach juices. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. Well, Jay, we've had a very interesting night. We've learned about the Western Star Sports Club and what they're intending to do over the coming months, and obviously the project that is hopefully will be completed in a 2-year period. Then we got to talk with Madeline Moore about her performance this weekend and what's in store for her, as well as Erica Hawley, who will be looking to do some amazing things for herself this year as well. So we want to encourage these athletes to continue on and keep striving, as well as the Western Star Sports Club. I'm just hoping that we are all around to see what that looks like once it's completed, and see when they actually turn the field back over to them, because whenever we upgrade or we do something new, it's always good to be there to see. Even if you're not from that club, you actually want to see a club progress. Yeah,
most definitely. I mean, we got to see it firsthand down at PAC Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they turned it back over for the football, having the first football game down there, we saw the crowds come out for that. And very similarity, that feels, it was on our shoulders.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting times for that, not just the club, but the community. And that's one thing I love about that community, is that the resilience of the, to have this vision and to get these partnerships. And that's what these clubs, I keep saying, that's what clubs should be about. It's the partnerships. We've heard, some of the demise of some of these clubs with the lack of revenue streams. And they're finding ways to say, you know what, we can do without certain revenue streams, or say a bar per se. Some clubs we know cannot survive without the bar, so they haven't been creative enough to look at some other revenue streams.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? This might be the time to reach out to the Western Stars Sports Club family and say, hey, what are you guys doing that we could probably implement with our own clubs? Because it sounds like you guys are on a different track that's going to be very, not just looking at today, but also looking at tomorrow, what's coming down in the future, and I think this could be a model for many clubs on our island. If it hasn't been talked about, or hasn't been thought about, this is actually how an action plan is being put in place. And I know, Earl, we've been to many clubs. We hear about so many grand ideas that, certain committees come in. We want to do this, we want to do that. But a lot of it just stays in conversation.
Right.
To hear, and to see, I went to the field the other day to actually see the field, to actually see something being done, man. It's man, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Right. Well,
before we go, be remiss, because the last show we hadn't played 2 games, the national men's team. And I just want to say, shout out to the boys, shout out to the coaching staff. Obviously, watching the game even last night, one thing about watching our national teams, whatever sport it is, man, once, you get that warm feeling inside. Yeah, sometimes you're angry as the coach, and sometimes you're happy, you go up and down. But no, man, to see what these young men have done, just going through this World Cup qualifier, it's amazing. But in saying that, we as Bermudans got to always support, and whether we like it or not, we have to support. And to see the support last night on the feed, see the support within social media, I think that's the only way forward, because once again, they are representing us. So to see that, obviously everybody looked at a 5-1 loss, but then I haven't heard all the uproar about, a 5-0 win. So I'm like, hey, what's going on here? So it's interesting how we can be so fickle at times, man.
Yeah.
But in saying that, like I said, for the boys, it's amazing, because looking at that program that, when I take a look back 6-7 years ago, to see guys actually fighting for positions, and I'm thinking, hold on, I could probably name 4 or 5 guys who are not in the team.
Right.
You could probably come back into this team. So what? Or Are they able to just walk back into the team? You see, these are the questions that could be interesting and probably good headaches that the coaching staff is going to have in the next round. I believe in June. I believe it is.
In
Yeah.
June, yeah.
So hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know what the schedule's going to be as far as the dates. I mean, venues. And then for you, I was even thinking, I mean, for some folks who might have the time, hey, if it happens to be back in Florida, it might be an opportunity for some folks to even get down there. Or, and I'm even thinking to the fact that even for charter, because I'm thinking that'd probably be the safest way, number one.
Right.
Because the folks will be able to stay in a bubble of some sort. But that's just something that, I mean, hey, I'm just trying to go around. You see me. I'm trying to figure out how we can get down there. That's all. I know you're on my side with this. It looks like you froze. What happened? You took off before me? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know where he's going. He's just smiling at me. But before we wrap up, also, I just want to say, once again, shout out to our national team. Hey, it's coming back. Let's see, now it's coming back too full. Look at that. It's got skills. It's got skills.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where there has to be a lot of conversation about how that's going to work. And I'm looking forward to being in that conversation, because having the support there is one of the things that we all know is desperately needed. So, we look forward to ensuring that our national teams, no matter what teams they are given all the support as possible from this country. So we look forward to that.
Yeah, most definitely.
All right.
Before you freeze again, you better get out of here, bro.
All right, brother. Well, you enjoy the rest of your night. Okay?
Yeah, take care.